Welcome everybody, my name is Veronica Muinjo, and in celebration of International Persons with Disability Day, I'll be joined by various autistics from across Africa in order to hear from their perspective about their autism. Please do join me. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce your speakers for the day. My name is Veronica Muinjo and I am a teacher and tutor from Namibia. I founded As We Play, which is a platform I use to discuss issues of neurodivergency as well as my own struggles with executive dysfunction. And at the end of this webinar, I'll be giving it to Mr. Zekwande to have an interactive Q&A session. So your speakers for the day will be Zekwande Mathenjwa, who is a non-speaking autistic advocate from South Africa and is the founder of the Zekwande Foundation. Zekwande has been an augmentative and alternative communication user for almost 4 years and calls for more access to communication services for non-speakers in South Africa. And joining us from Kenya will be Karen Muriuki. Karen is an autistic self-advocate and is the founder of Kenyans Living with Autism. Karen is a Bridge Kenya CRPD SDG fellow. Namdi will be joining us from Nigeria, and Namdi is a neurodivergent person and advocate from Nigeria. And lastly, from South Africa, we'll be joined by Gretchen Nicole Gardiner. Gretchen is a 34-year-old autistic mother with a bachelor's degree in physiology and psychology. You could share with us, what is the biggest misconception that you often have to find yourself debunking about autism?
The biggest misconception that I always have to debunk about autistic people is that we don't have empathy. We have both emotional and intellectual empathy for our fellow human beings. We often care very deeply for our friends and loved ones. And sometimes some people have difficulty expressing the way that they care and the way that they understand how other people are feeling, but definitely autistic people are very empathetic.
Excellent insight. Gretchen, you are an autistic mother to a little boy. How have your experiences shaped the way you choose to raise your son?
As a mother to a 16-month-old little boy, what I do differently is I practice what is known as attachment-focused parenting as well as gentle parenting. And I have a huge focus on communication. So from as soon as he had control of his hands, I was teaching my son sign language, that no matter what happens, you can always communicate with me. I've focused a lot on building a sense of trust and attachment. The phrase I like to use in my head when making decisions about how do my parenting is connection before correction. So it's all about building that relationship with your child and always being there for them. Myself, growing up, I was mainly ignored by my parents. I just sat in my room, and being a person who loved reading, I would read all the time, and that was what I did. And my parents never thought that there was anything that needed help. I was basically diagnosed as autistic as an adult, because my parents never thought there was anything strange. They thought as long as I did okay in school, that there was no issues. Yes.
Thank you, Gretchen. That is insightful. Habari, Karen. Karen, if you could please tell us, what is the one misconception that you constantly find yourself having to debunk over and over again about autism?
Okay, the common misconceptions that I have about autism that I keep debunking every single time, it is the fact that a lot of people use the word disorder or condition. Those are the two main things that I think I find it very concerning, that I have to repeat myself in debunking some of those myths. And of course, they think, thirdly, they also think that autism is a mental disease, which is not, in my opinion.
The misconception I find myself repeatedly debunking is the harmful narrative that autism is a disease that needs to be eradicated in society. First of all, autism in a social context is a disability, but in a personal context, it is a part of a person's personality. And saying you want to eradicate the personality of a person is eugenicist, basically.
Bless you. The fact that non-speakers are smart and that we understand language fully. So the fact that non-speakers are smart and that we understand language fully.
Thank you, Gretchen, Zekwande, Namdi, and Karen for your answers. Really, this has given us a lot to consider, especially when it comes to understanding autistics and how they perceive the world. If you could share with us, what dream do you have for the people with your disability and that you think will be realized in your lifetime?
The biggest dream that I have for autistic people that will be hopefully achieved in my lifetime is plain and simple career inclusion, so that we are able to fulfill our full potential, that we can participate fully in different society activities, that be it hobbies, work, studies. We are able to, with just a little bit of accommodation from neurotypical people, and just that people always assume competence before assuming incompetence. And if we do need support, that is provided to us the way you would provide for anybody else with a perhaps physical disability. Like a ramp for someone with a wheelchair is the same as creating a positive sensory environment for someone who is autistic.
My dream about autism and in my organization here in Kenya is that they need to have a sort of like an open session where we as autistic people can be the main consultants when it comes to matters of raising awareness of individuals who are autistic like myself, and that they need to follow the CRPD constitution. I believe that my dream is to ensure that there is inclusive education, inclusive employment for autistic adults, reasonable accommodations as well, accessibility to communication devices for especially non-speaking autistic people. And that's my dream and goal for my lifetime, is to ensure that autistic people have those accommodations that are needed for them to prosper.
To the second question, the dream I have for autistic people in Africa is that our accommodation and accessibility needs be met so we can contribute positively to the society at large. And also, I would love to meet autistics in Africa so we can have a network of autistics in Africa. I know it's difficult for some to come out due to numerous problems being faced by autistic in Africa. But I think this can be achieved within my lifetime. But I must warn you, I am not all known.
Straightened. Straightened. I want all non-speakers to have access to nuanced communication methods.
I want them to be able to communicate like I can. Done.
Brilliant, everybody. Thank you so much for that contribution. I think that gives a lot of us something to think about. What would you say is the one thing that people could do to move into the direction of having your dream being realized?
The one thing that anybody can do is to ask your autistic friends what they need to be comfortable, to perform better. It can be as simple as dimming the lights or not having too much background noise in a room. It could be speaking slowly. It could be anything that will make life a little bit easier for that person. So the most common thing are sensory difficulties. So some people, bright lights really hurt. Sometimes loud noises really hurt. So it would not affect a neurotypical person to be in a slightly dimmed room, or to have the TV a little bit softer while people are trying to have a conversation, or to put it off completely so they can focus on that conversation. Those are simple things that anybody can do that will go a long way in making life a little easier.
One thing I'd really want anyone to do is to just listen to our voices, because the saying goes, nothing is about us without us. Secondly, I think it's important that they need to just allow us to advocate for themselves, for ourselves. And that's the only thing that I have to say.
One thing that anybody out there could do to take a step in that direction is to listen to autistic perspectives and support autistic and neurodivergent people in Africa. Thank you.
Straightened. Okay, keep going. Know our capabilities and presume competence. Listen to us. started. Take your directives from us. Done.
Exactly. I agree with everything that everyone has said. And I think that platforms like these, and this is why we're so thankful for the Zekwande Foundation for putting this together, is where we get to hear from the autistics firsthand. And now, without further ado, I'll be handing it over to Mr. Zekwande to have the interactive Q&A session. Mr. Zekwande will explain all the details of how that will go. Thank you very much for joining me.